Begin another school year, we are facing challenges like never before. COVID-19 has changed our lifestyle and brought about unprecedented stress. Father, guide Dr. Williamson, all school personnel, the board, and parents in the decision process for the 2020-2021 school year. Be with the CDC and Governor Cooper. Guide them in their effort to give direction for startup. Regardless of which plan is selected, help us all to embrace and adapt with change. Father, there is much unrest in the country and here at home. Help people to understand there is a better way. May everyone turn to you to build a spiritual, moral, and cultural renewal of America. May we follow your commandment, love thy neighbor.
Yes.
Father, as we do the business of the Hope County school system, guide us, bless us, as we take it one day at a time. I ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Richards. At this time, we will continue with our agenda. And next on our agenda, we have the chairman's report. I have two letters that came from the Allen family. Well, thank you notes that came from the Allen family. I have not had an opportunity to read to you before, and I will read them this morning. The first one, it says, "Thank you. The family of James E. Douglas acknowledges with great appreciation your love, support, thankfulness, and kindness during the passing and celebrating the life of our dad, the Douglas family. The second card to the Hope County School family, a special thanks for your kind donation to First Baptist Church in memory of our father. Our family truly appreciates your kind support, love, and friendship. Alan." Also, at this time, I would just like to mention, for those that may not know, the passing of one of our outstanding citizens and an outstanding leader in the Hope County community, Dr. Mary Kay Thomas. Many of you don't know her. Some of you on the board do know her, and Barbara knows her well. Dr. Thomas was a former teacher and employee in the Hope County schools for many, many years. Matter of fact, she retired from the system. She was also a past president of Hope County Civic League, and there were other numerous organizations he was a member of. Dr. Thomas passed on Sunday, and this was due to an auto accident that she was in last week. So we would like to remember both of these families, continue to both of these families in our prayers, as well as others that may have lost someone since we last met. We will continue with our agenda. So next on our agenda, we have approval of our amended agenda for today. So at this time, I would like to get approval of our amended agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the amended agenda for July 14th, 2020.
Maybe get a second, please.
I'll second that.
We would like to thank Ms. Maynard and for the motion, and second for Mr. Richard for the approval of our agenda we have for today. Are there any questions? If none, all in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
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 Opposers, nay. Ayes have it, so the agenda before us has been approved. At this time, Ms. Murgison, did you want to do a roll call? Do we have everybody?
Yes, if we could, for the sake of the record, if we could, whenever there is a vote, if we could do a roll call of the vote, that would be wonderful.
Okay. But next on our spotlight then, next we have a spotlight on success, and I will turn it over to Dr. Williamson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, excuse me, and members. Let me recognize Dr. Chavis, who is our Executive Director of Career and Technical Education, and she will share with you some successes from our drone class implemented this year. Dr. Chavis?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Madam Chair and chairpersons.
Morning.
The drone class actually started this past school year. Mr. Malabunga is the instructor for that particular class. He is not new to Hope County Schools, although he was new to Hope High. And we had 25 plus students in that particular class. And as of today, we have a total of 5 students that have actually tested and earned their drone license. So we're super excited about that because even during the pandemic, you know, they just persevered and went all the way through. Some of them had to get their own transportation to the testing site, and others were bused in, but it's exciting for Hope County Schools. And the last that I checked, we were the only ones in the state that had students to test this particular school year. So this video is just an introduction of our drone class. Mr. Malabunga this year is actually presenting at our summer conference in regards to how to have a successful drone program. So Hope High is being featured there. Do you start the program, the video?
Very good.
I don't hear anything, but I don't know if anybody else can hear.
Low battery, low battery, low battery.
Dawn, the video's playing, but there's no sound.
Is that coming? Jody, are you presenting?
Hello, I'm Dr. Dana Chavis, Executive Director of Career and
Okay, there
Technical
we go.
Education for Hope County Schools, located here in Rayford, North Carolina. With exciting news about our drone class, which had only started in the spring of school year 2019-2020. We started with our Drones 1 class. We've had several students earn their drone pilot license, as well as their unmanned Safety Institute certification, even during this pandemic. We are now ready to embark on our Drone 2 class, in which students will be able to earn their BSO certification. We are so excited of these opportunities for our students, and we appreciate the support of our school board members, our superintendents, along with our county commissioners, to allow us to be able to teach this particular class to our students here in Rayford, North Carolina. Thank you.
Okay, I do not hear anything.
Hey, I'm getting the video. My video is playing well.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did you turn on your YouTube?
Hello.
I was
good.
only hearing music.
Director of Career and Technical Education for Hope County Schools, located here in Rayford, North Carolina, with exciting news about our drones class, which had only started in the spring of school year 2019-20. Class. We've had several students who earn their drone pilot license, as well as their Unmanned Safety Institute certification in the pandemic. Already embark on our Drone 2 class, in which students will be able to earn their VSO certification. We are so excited for these opportunities for our students, and we appreciate the support of our school board members, our superintendent, along with our county commission, to allow us to be able to teach this particular class here. Thank you.
I would like to say, once again, just to thank the school board and Dr. Williamson and our county commissioners for, allowing us to embark on, an area that, was very new to everyone. And our students love it. They want more, and we're giving them more and more opportunities. I just think that it's a great initiative that we're doing to provide credentials for our students to actually go to work, for those that choose to go to a post-secondary school or to go to work or to do both. So thank you again.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you, David. It really was. It really was. I was excited as well as these students were, as well as parents and everyone else. An outstanding job that you all are doing at the high school with these students.
Ms. Pickett and members, I agree with that, and I say thank you to all the board members and to Dr. Ramsewer and Ms. Murkison. This is a result of policies that were put in place and approved by the board. So I say to you quite often, what we do in the boardroom shows up in the classrooms and outcomes for our kids. So thank you for your work on that. This program is only going to grow and get better. Madam Chairman and members, that concludes our spotlight on success. And if you could not hear that, I'm sorry for the technical difficulty, but if you, on your agenda, you can play that and hear it individually. Okay. And it's on our homepage too. Okay. That concludes Spotlight on Success for this morning.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Williamson. Well, we will continue with our constant agenda that we have. So everyone had an opportunity to read this, our constant agenda, approval of the minutes for June 9th, 16 and 30. So we will now get a motion to accept the minutes for those days that we have listed here, the 9th, 16th, and the 30th, 2020. May we get approval of that?
Madam Chair, Barbara Bowie, I move that we accept the minutes for June 9th, 16th, and 30th, 2020.
Second,
Thank you.
Della Maynor.
Okay, it's been moved by Barbara Bowie and second by Della Maynor that we accept the approval of the minutes for June 9th, 16, and for 30. Are there any questions? If none, all in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye, Barbara Bowie.
Aye, Della.
Aye, Guy. Where's Rosa?
Is Rosa present?
She is.
Did we get an aye from Rosa?
Oh,
Okay, well, ayes with me.
hi, Rosa.
Okay. Opposes nay, so ayes have it. So the consent agenda has been approved. Next, we'll move on with our action item. So at this time, we'll turn this over to the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. We have 3 action items this morning. Action item number 1 we are requesting approval of the Hope County Schools reentry plan that we shared with you last month as information. We did not make any changes in the plan, and just as a formality so that it will be part of our board records that we did ask you to approve the Hope County Schools reentry plan, please.
You've heard the request coming from the superintendent to approve the Hope County Schools reentry plan that were presented to us at our last meeting. And at this time, may we get a motion?
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we approve the Hope County Schools reentry plan for the 2020-21 school year. This is Hank.
Second, Della.
Okay, it was moved by Mr. Richards and second by Ms. Maynard that we approve the Hope County Schools reentry plan as was presented to us at our last meeting. Are there any questions? All in favor, then let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye. Aye, Della.
Aye.
Aye,
All
Hank.
opposing?
Madam Chair, if we could,
Yes.
if it would assist, I'd be happy to poll the board members with every vote.
Do that for
Okay.
me.
Okay, so we'll start with you, Miss Pickett,
Well, aye.
Mr. Richards,
Aye.
Ms. Bowie,
Aye.
Ms. McAllister McRae,
Aye.
Ms. Maynard Barrick.
Aye. You
Thank
can
you.
just do Maynard.
Okay, Maynard, we'll get that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so the ayes have it. So the Hope County School reentry plan has been approved.
Great, thank you, Madam Chairman and members, and this document will certainly guide our work as we await the announcement from the governor on today. Thank you. Action item number 2, results of our parent staff survey, and then I will have for you a recommendation for our reentry options. Let me ask Dr. Ramsey if she'll share with us the results from the remote survey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I want to begin by just letting you know, I think in our last conversation, our last parent survey, we had a little over 1,000 parents and families to complete the survey, and we were hoping for at least that many this time. We had 2,088 families to complete this survey, so we do feel that it was a very good swath of the population. So we're excited about such a high turnout in terms of sharing their views and their concerns with us and their intentions. So just so that you know, before we begin with the results, that we did have a large number of parents complete the survey.
Very good.
So we're going to begin. What we did when we did the survey, we broke it down by grade ranges. So we'll give elementary results. Parents were asked if they had an elementary child, and then they were asked about their intention for those children. And then we did middle and high school. So I think another important point is to share with you the percentage of parents or families responded from each school. So if you looked at the chart, we had a good representation from all schools. Our smallest representation, again, their smaller schools were from McLaughlin and Hawkeye, but each having a good number of families to respond. At McLaughlin, there were 75 families to respond, and then at Hawkeye, 57. And again, remember, a lot of those families have multiple children. So we did have a good number of parents respond at all schools. So the question that we asked our parents was, if given their specific family circumstances, if schools were to resume in person in August, under Plan A with the minimal social distancing, what was their intention? And so we gave them a couple of choices. We asked them, would they just be planning to return to school as normal or as we were at that point in time? We asked them if they were going to be considering a remote option, and we said remote academy at the time, something where students would be 100% online and not physically coming to the school building. And then we asked them, were they planning to homeschool their child or some other type of education outside of Hope County schools? And what we found was if we were to return to school under Plan A, 46% of our families said they were going to consider some other option, the online option for their children. And then another small percentage of parents said that they would look at homeschooling as well as others. So that amounted to about 7% that we're going to look at something different. So when we look at that, only 46% of parents said that they were going to send their children back to school if we came to school under Plan A for elementary. So then we said, okay, well, let's say we came back and it was hybrid. Students were coming and they were alternating and they were doing that A-B schedule. What would you do then? 60% of our parents said, okay, we'll send them to school if it's a hybrid model. We still had about a third, 33.3% of our parents say, we're still looking at an online option. We'd like to consider that. And then we had about 6.5% of our parents say they were going to do something else, whether it was homeschooling or some other type of something. So 60% said, you know, we feel like we might send them if it's a hybrid approach. So then when we look at Plan C, we asked parents what their intent then was. About 85% of our parents said that they would send their students back to school with Hope County. Of course, remember, this is going to be fully remote and all of the students would be online. With that still left about 15% of our families that said we would look at something else other than Hope County schools if we came back at Plan C. We also, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know it. I just said.
For transportation, we did ask parents, you know, if we came back to school on Plan A or B, are you planning for your child to ride the school bus? For elementary, 60% of our families said no. They were planning to make other arrangements. Again, this is 60% of the people who answered the survey felt that they would not be using our transportation services. So again, taking that same approach to middle school, we looked at first the middle schools who were represented, and all middle schools were represented well. So we had about equal representation, recognizing the size of the school. So all schools were well represented. And then if we ask that same question about Plan A, are you planning for your child to enroll in Hope County schools if we come back with the minimal social distancing? And 52% of our families said they wanted to look at an online option. And then on top of that, another 10% or so said that they were going to look at some other options, whether it be homeschooling or just something else altogether. So only about 39% of our families said they would return to Hope County. Middle school families or for our middle schoolers wanted to return to Hope County if we came back on Plan A. So then we look at Plan B, 60% of families said, okay, we'll come back on Plan B to Hope County schools, but still a little over a third, 36% said that they wanted to consider a remote academy or something where students were 100% online. And then for Plan C, looked very similar to elementary, 85% saying we'll come back to Hope County if we do Plan C, but we had a pretty decent amount, about 15% that said we would look at other options. For transportation, about 42% said that their middle schooler would not be riding a bus, that they would be looking for other alternatives. So we're going to move into the high school. And as we move into the high school, I want to just make a couple of notes here. As we look through this, what we've noticed is that we have groups of families that really want their children to have that face-to-face connection, as you can hear, as we move through Plan A, B, and C. And then we have a group of families that are concerned about that face-to-face and want that remote option. So we'll go through high school here and look at, again, we had a good representation, San Hope making up about 20% and the high school making up about the other 80% of our families that responded. And then looking at Plan A, it was about 50% said they were going to look at something like a remote academy. Only about 42% of families said if we do Plan A, we want to send our children to school. Plan B, that number increased. It was 63% saying, yes, we want to send them to school, but we still had about a third that said, I want to look at this remote academy, this 100% online. And then we had a small percentage saying they're going to do other. And then finally for Plan C, again, it was very similar. We had about 85% of our families saying, we'll send them back if it's fully remote. But we had about 15% again, and we're seeing that with Plan C, that about 15% of families are saying we're going to look at other things. So we do know that there's this population that truly wants to see a face-to-face connection. We can see that teased out as we ask for Plan C, because we know that's 100% online, but we're having more of our families say they want to explore other options if it's only going to be online. So again, we asked about transportation for high school. What we saw was about 44% said no, we're not going to do transportation if we come back under Plan A and B. So that brings us to the end of our parent survey, and now we're going to move into the staff survey unless there are questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Roughly, it looks like about 15% of the people are not going to come back no matter what we do. Is that added to the ones that are not part of our public schools already? And if so, I'd like to know about how many children in Hope County, if we did either of these plans, how many children of Hope County would Hope County public schools not be serving approximately?
Right. So I think one of the things to say is that this survey did go out through Facebook and online. So we targeted people who were already Hope County students and families. However, we don't know that perhaps maybe some of our constituents that aren't actually coming to our school. So it could have been some of those repeat homeschoolers. But to your point, one of the things we did notice is you're right, about 15% if we do Plan C. But if we did Plan B, we noticed that number is actually smaller. It's about 7%. So we're looking at about 7% of our families. If we did something with a Plan B and they had a way to do some type of virtual, we would serve more of our families that way. So it looked more like 7% versus 15%, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Ms. Bowie, let me add to that question. It's a great question. We have 10,000 school-aged students in Hope County. Of the 10,000, the public schools we serve are 9,000. So about 10% is what has chosen either charter school or homeschool, church school, whatever the case might be. So we have a high percentage of the kids that we're serving in Hope County. Just for a piece of information, but we're right on target to where we projected that we will be in 2020, and that's 10,000 students eligible to attend our school, with 9,000 doing so.
Thank you.
So the staff survey, we surveyed a large number of our staff, and we had about 600 staff members to participate in the survey. And this was all staff, include teachers, assistants, child nutrition, district office, any person who was affiliated with Hope County schools. And we had a good representation from all of our schools. So we asked them how comfortable were they with returning to face-to-face instruction. And what we saw was that about 30% were just not comfortable at all. And about 40% were somewhat comfortable, perhaps maybe had a few reservations, leaving about 30% that were pretty comfortable, very comfortable to comfortable. So we did have about 30% though that just didn't feel comfortable for some reason or other. So that said, we asked the question similar to the parents. We asked them if we came back under Plan A, would they anticipate returning to school? We gave them a scale of 1 to 3, 1 being I anticipate coming back, 2, I'm just not sure, perhaps maybe they have some reservations, and 3, that they do not anticipate returning to Hope County schools. And what we saw was about 8% said they didn't anticipate returning if we came back under Plan A. And about 24% were a little unsure. For Plan B, asking that same question, we had about 3.5% say that they did not anticipate returning, and about 21% saying they were unsure. And then when we moved to Plan C, it was just under 3% said that they did not anticipate returning, and only 9% saying they were unsure. So then we asked them, what about some challenges? If schools were allowed to open, what challenges were most concerning to them? And we asked them to rank those challenges. And so what we saw were the things that were most concerning to them were social distancing, their personal health and health of their family members, and then next to that was wearing a face mask. And it wasn't necessarily them themselves wearing a face mask. In some cases, it was managing the wearing of face mask or managing the social distancing as opposed to that they didn't want a social distance. So there were a variety of different concerns within that social distancing concern. So then we went on to ask them, one of the things we asked them if childcare was a concern. It was actually the thing that was least concerning to them as a whole. But we said, if you said childcare was a concern, would you take advantage of childcare for school-age children at their school if we did Plan B? If we were to have this Plan B in effect and we were to offer some type of childcare, is this something you would be interested in? And about 72% said they would not be interested in childcare. So that left about 28% saying that that was something that they would want to look into. And if we did allow them to add some additional comments, and some said they just would want to know more information, they'd have to kind of see how it worked. But of that, it was a small percentage of the population that said that was something they would want to take advantage of. So the other question we asked our staff is if there were some students who did not want to return to the building and we were to offer some type of 100% online, would you be interested in teaching full-time virtually? And by and large, we had about 85% of our population to say either yes, they would be interested, or they are not sure, they just needed more information. There's only about 14% that said they did not want to teach full-time virtually. Are there any questions about the staff survey?
I have one question about about reopening.
Yes, sir.
Not about staff, but if the governor comes through with Plan B, for example, we as a county can go to Plan C because it's least restrictive. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We can be more restrictive. So if he recommends Plan B, you as a board and recommendation as a superintendent, we can move to Plan C, which is more restrictive as
Right.
Everyone online. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, please.
If we go to more restrictive, and from what I'm hearing in the community, there were many parents that were pretty satisfied with what we did in the spring. But I think I read in this, on this agenda someplace, that it would be different. Can you address that?
Yes, Ms. Bowie, if you hold that thought for 1 minute, I'm gonna make a recommendation, and then I'm gonna ask Dr. Register, Dr. Dallas, and Dr. Ramsey to talk about that issue among other issues. Okay. Dawn, do you have any more on the survey?
No, I believe Dr. Dallas is going to take over and talk about our reentry options.
Okay.
One other question, Dr. Williamson, please.
Yes.
Regardless of what decision we make, we can always change. It's not this decision is not a year-long decision. For example, should the virus go away, we could go to Plan A.
That is correct, based on recommendations from the CDC and our local health department. And truly, that is the intent. Whatever we start with, we're either going to go down or up, depending on the science and the data of that. Yes. Dr. Dallas?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
We would like to first recognize and tell our families that we really understand the challenges that they're facing during these unprecedented times. So our goal as a district is to be very responsive to our families' needs and concerns. We would like to thank our families who've completed the survey and who provided feedback. We have found that very informative and helpful, and we've been able to use that feedback to help develop a plan of how to move forward and how to possibly start the 2021 school year. So Jody, if you go to the next slide. So at this time, we will look at 2 possible learning environments that parents and families will be able to choose from for the 2021 school year if approved. So based on the survey results and feedback, our plan would be to re-enter under Plan B, which provides the combination of remote learning and in-person learning based on a rotating schedule. So if you remember from our document, Working Together for Reentry, that Plan B was the more restrictive plan. School facilities are still open, but we will require social distancing. Schools will be at 50% maximum occupancy. There would be enhanced health protocols, and it would be a hybrid learning approach, meaning they would have some of their days would be in school with face-to-face instruction, and their off days would be remote days learning from home. But also based on the survey results and feedback, we recognize that there's a strong desire for some parents to explore this remote learning option. So in addition to Plan B, if that made parents somewhat uncomfortable still, or they were not comfortable with that choice, that we would allow them to opt into a remote learning full-time at their current assigned school. So we would call that HCS Online. So it would be parents' choice, and they would be opting into 100% remote learning. They would stay connected to their home school, but it would be a completely virtual experience during the fall semester. It would keep the same pace as if they were in person in class for instruction, and it will mirror face-to-face instruction as far as what the lesson sequence would look like, the amount of direct instruction, the amount of independent practice, and things like that. So students would not be physically present in the traditional classroom environment, but they would engage and participate in a fully functioning online classroom setting aligned to their current school. And I think that's important. They would stay connected to their current school, but all instruction would be online. So we're gonna, in the next slides, we're gonna kind of go a little bit more in depth just to kind of flush out the differences between Plan B and this HCS Online. So if you remember, Plan B comes from our document, and it's basically an approach to education that will combine the face-to-face instruction with the at-home learning on a rotational basis. So if you remember, we had these A days and B days. So at all grade levels, students would be divided into cohorts attending on alternating days, on-site and off-site. For all learners, Friday would be remote learning days, which means they would be learning from home. So for example, if I was assigned to cohort A as a student, I would come to the building for face-to-face instruction on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I would have my remote learning days on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. If I was assigned to cohort B, I would come to the building on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I would engage in my remote learning on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. All of our students in this plan would be engaged in synchronous live instruction with their teachers. Remember though, this is at 50% capacity, so that's the reasoning for the cohort A and B. And I think one of the benefits of Plan B is that all students have the opportunity to be in the building at least 2 days a week, engaged with face-to-face instruction and interactions with their teachers, their peers, and any other educational staff. The next slide. So just to remember too, under Plan B, we will make sure that we cluster our families together in cohorts. So if I have a child at the elementary level and I have a student at the middle school, I'm going to make sure that those students are assigned to the same day. So for example, that family might be in cohort A, so that they would attend on site the same days. The health protocols that are in place for Plan B are wearing the face coverings. We'll have our symptom screening and daily temperature checks. We would adhere to our enhanced cleaning protocols. We have limited entry points into the building. Visitors would be kind of maintained into the front office area so that we would not have a lot of movement and extra people going through the hallways. All staff would be on site every day, and things like open house, those events, those would all be in a virtual format. So that just kind of reiterates what Plan B looked like in our working together reentry document. So at this time, Dr. Register is going to share a little bit more about the HCS Online option.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
So still under Plan B, we still wanted to give our families options based off the feedback. And so I do want to kind of outline our online learning plan. So this is an opportunity for families to select to opt out of Plan B, and they will be immersed fully online with that learning experience. Also, we will require students to participate every day in our online learning. They will have live sessions and pre-recorded sessions, so this will be the same as Dr. Dallas had mentioned, even with the AB session. So they will have that live face-to-face, whether it's online, with their teacher, and then the independent work. They still will have to submit through our learning management system, Seesaw or Canvas. Also, we have provided some considerations, which I will go through in the next slide, and that kind of outlines the similarities and differences from our spring 2020 remote learning experience. Also, this will only be for a semester because we wanted to receive more guidance from the state and federal health agencies and our governor in terms of how we will move forward. So as part of our consideration for this option, it was only for the fall semester. And so we have to go back and reevaluate that at a later date. And then all instruction is provided by the assigned teacher from the child's school. And the child will be on a regular schedule. Now, this slide kind of outlines some considerations that we have shared with parents so that they can recognize some of the similarities and differences from the spring 2020. It would be fully online, which is a similarity. However, it is a semester-long option where we would go back and revisit. Parents are required to attend a parent orientation session. And then, of course, students are required to actively participate regularly, especially with our online instruction that we will have for them. Now, even though with the 2020, we highly encouraged students to participate during remote learning. Of course, that was a sudden change that we had to do. In this, a difference is we are requiring that students attend. Also, we wanted parents to know that it may be limited access to elective classes and specials for their child if they select this opportunity. And then also a similarity would be that we will issue district-issued devices as well as hotspots that as needed to the families.
Okay, so Ms. Bowie, let me answer one of the questions you had in terms of what's different. In the spring, we did not take daily attendance. Oh, you're going to get to it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Next slide. And that's what I was getting ready to point out, Dr. Williamson. A big difference, again, here would be that we did not take the daily attendance for our spring 2020. Here we will take daily attendance in this program. Also, it's going to go at the same pace with as our AB schedule. When we talk about instruction, and Dr. Dallas already mentioned, it's going to be the same curriculum, programs, the same expectations that we will have for our students that are on the Plan B with the AB schedule will be the same with our HCS Online Learning. Also, we outlined to our parents that students will still be required to participate in all state-mandated testing. At this time, testing will move forward, but I'm sure that there may be some changes and updates from DPI, Testing and Accountability Department. So, but if testing is required, they would have to come in and test, and we will have an assigned dates and location. Also, and then parents and students must agree to all the above expectations. So that kind of outlines some of the similarities and differences from our spring 2020 experience. Are there any questions?
Yes, ma'am. This is Hank. I have one concern. I choose online learning for my child. And after a week, I decide, oh, I don't want that. I want my child to go to school.
Yeah.
After a week, I don't want that. I want my child back in online learning. Are we going to what provisions are we going to have to keep them locked into to whatever they decide?
And so that is why one of the requirements is there has to be a commitment for a semester. And then that also we will have a required parent orientation session with those parents to go back and talk about those expectations and requirements.
So we're going to commit for a semester or a grading period?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. I also suggest, I could see where there could be a hardship case, and perhaps the superintendent with his approval, they could opt out, option out.
Mr. Richards, you're right. We've had conversation around that. If parents just pushed and said, I want to change something, we really said, fine, we're giving one opportunity to make a change, but we're not going to flip-flop back and forth.
Right.
But our intent is that they stay the course with us for a semester. But there's always a possibility, again, based on our local health department recommendations and recommendations from the state, that after 9 weeks, we may go up or down. So that possibility exists.
Yeah.
And I just want to, for the HCS Online Learning, some of our next steps, upon board approval, we will send out a registration form, and that will be released on Wednesday, July the 15th. And we will get the word out through our website as well as social media, Facebook, to inform parents, making phone calls as well. And then another next step would be that we were asking parents to submit or commit by Monday, July the 27th. And then we will have additional information by August the 3rd regarding the mandatory parent orientation.
Dr. Register.
Yes, ma'am.
If we do Plan B, how are we going to? Because we were thrown in this situation. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody knew it was coming, and so our instructors, our teachers, had to, just make things happen, do the best they can. Are we going to give them any training? Because they're going to have to be teaching in class and then going to teach online as well. But they're going to have to get a little bit more, I'm sure, better at it. Are we going to train them at all? What are we going to do about that?
Yes, ma'am. I just had a conversation with Dr. Ramsey yesterday, and that's the point that we discussed, and we started outlining and brainstorming in terms of the training that we will have to offer those teachers who agree to participate in the online learning experience. So you are absolutely correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
And Dr. Winston just made a great point. We've already started some of that training with all our teachers during the summer in terms of looking at our learning management system with Canvas. And in that training, we have embedded effective online teaching and learning modules as well.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I want to add to your question by asking Dr. Register, Dr. Ramsey, and Dr. Dallas. Ever since we've been one-to-one, we have trained folks with blended learning, all of that. Can y'all speak to that? What did we learn from the spring? Teachers probably better prepared than we thought to teach online. Can you address that?
So I'm going to start with just sharing. We have been working on blended learning for quite some time. And one of the things I think our teachers really were truly ahead of some others, simply because they understood how to use many of the online resources, and they were already using those resources. Our children are accustomed to them. And so going from perhaps maybe some of the offline resources, we were able to just continue to do the work that we were already doing in the virtual environment. Now, there is a difference. And so there is or was some adjustment. However, our teachers really did have many of the tools that they needed. For example, being able to post videos online for students, that was something they were already accustomed to doing. So we will continue. And one of the things we talked about is on some of those Fridays that our teachers are doing that the synchronous instruction in the morning, reserving those afternoons for continuing to build the skills and of those teachers who are teaching online, not just 100%, because all of them will be doing some version online, but continuing to build those skills throughout the year and the semester, depending on what happens. So I feel like we were already in a very good place, and our teachers did adapt quite readily. However, there is a difference, and we will continue that training as a result.
And I think from the elementary level, based on last year, we really worked a lot on how do you provide direct instruction remotely? How do we still build in collaboration when we are teaching virtually? So some of it was just kind of helping them understand how those things look in a virtual lesson. And so this summer, we've already started working on making sure that our lesson sequence for every lesson is very solid, right? That we still start with the standard, we still start with the learning target and our pre-reading. And so we've really talked about what a strong lesson sequence looks like, and also what can that look like when I'm doing synchronous or asynchronous instruction. So teachers have had a lot of training already with when I'm standing in front of a classroom and I want to unpack a standard. I know how to do that. But what can I do through technology to do that same thing in a virtual environment? So we've really just been trying to give them tools to make sure that their lesson sequence is very solid, that it makes sense, and that students can continue to move through their lessons without needing a lot of extra support. So it's really making sure that scaffolding's in the lesson and that we're basically providing the next step so students are always set up for success for the next part of their lesson. So they've really come a long way, but like as Dr. Ramsor and Dr. Register, we've continued to do that work this summer, and we know that there will be a need to continue that in the fall. We also did a remote learning survey with our staff to let them give us feedback, where were the challenges? What do we need to do? So we're using that as a document to help us drive some of our professional learning as well.
Okay.
And that's what, and thank you for mentioning that, Dr. Dallas, because I was going to mention in terms of the survey to give us feedback how we can better support not only the digital teaching and learning department at C&I. When we are going in to do professional development, just focusing on the standard, we always bring in the blended learning piece, as well as looking at the quality of the resources that's being used. I can say our digital teaching and learning staff have developed an evaluation tool to help us evaluate resources. We've been using that with teachers. And then I do want to add the piece of the school structures have helped in terms of effective online teaching and learning. Structures in terms of professional learning communities, they still have regular meetings, so teachers are collaborating and sharing resources with each other. So because of those school structures, that is helping with effective online teaching.
We do have a teacher in with us this morning from the high school, Mr. Derek Bridges, so let me let you hear directly from a teacher. Derek?
From a teaching standpoint, it was definitely an adjustment to the online platform, but from a high school teaching standpoint, our students adjusted very well. I think our technology department has done a great job as far as the training with Google and updating us with Canvas, with this new software system. Our kids know technology a lot more than we think they do. And sometimes we can learn from them, which will help us when it comes to instruction going forward. So I believe that the online schooling, if we choose that option, a lot of teachers will adjust very well and do what they have to do to make it successful.
Derek, what do you teach?
I teach sports medicine at the high school.
Okay.
Thank you for that question. Great question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Register.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is one thing I was thinking as you were talking and as the question was asked, by Ms. McAllister-McCray and some of the others there. I think this one thing, too, that principals are going to really have to look at very closely and try to retain as many teachers as they possibly can that have already gone through the training. And with us not losing so many teachers every month, with those, resigning and new teachers coming in, because when a new teacher comes in, we don't know how much training she has had already, but she's going to have to be able to take the place of that teacher that left. So that's one thing I think, we're going to have to look at. Do what you can to retain as many teachers as you possibly can, in your schools. So you won't have this situation, with so many new teachers coming in and you got to train every month a new set of teachers. So I think, that would be beneficial too, that we would do more. Of course, I know that everyone will, knowing the situation that we have now. I know colleges to schools, that are really graduating teachers now will probably do a better job at what they're doing too, because of COVID-19, because life has really changed. But I just thought about retaining teachers, retaining our good teachers those that have already had the training.
Great point.
Ms. Pickett, let me ask another question related to that question. So historically, we're gonna be somewhere 18, 19, 20% turnover every year. Throughout the course of the year. So based on your question and concern, and this is to all these folks, how do we train new teachers when we bring them on board, that we can fix them up from the district level and also from the business? Because the fact is, we're gonna deal with 20% turnover. So how do we train those folks when we bring them on board? Y'all address, well, that's the real issue.
Yeah. So Dr. Williamson, the board members, one of the things that our team has talked about is we are right now preparing for our new teacher orientation for any new Hope County teacher coming in, whether they've taught before or not, but they're new to our district. We've really already talked about how that orientation needs to look very different than it has in the past. One of the things we've decided to do is we're actually going to go virtual so that our teachers actually experience that as a learner, so that our C&I staff can model some of the components, the technology features, the programs, so that we can actually put them through the learning experience as if they were a student. Because we were not sure how many of our teachers coming into Hope County, had to teach remotely last year and had to actually do some online instruction. So we wanted to take the opportunity at New Teacher Orientation, say, let's just do it. Like, let's get them in there. Let's model it. Let's work through some of the kinks. So that when they have to start that, if we're on plan B and they have to start remote instruction that first Friday, we want to make sure that they're prepared to be successful for that. Because I do think that's what keeps teachers here is I need to feel confident and have the efficacy to do what I'm being asked to do. So we really want to make sure that we are prepared for that.
Yeah, sounds great.
And then I do want to add that we also have ongoing training throughout the year for teachers to participate in, so we can definitely catch teachers that are coming, mid-year throughout the school year. So that ongoing training is there. Also, we have in C&I, we have intentionally differentiate our professional development. So we have professional development that target our new teachers throughout the year, and then professional development that target our veteran teachers. So we try to have PD based off of the teacher's needs to help them throughout the year. Yes, ma'am.
Great question. Also, there would be a need for some face-to-face. We can't get around that. So we've gone into Turlington, the auditorium, and we have put in the same system that we have at Sandy Grove Middle School. Drop down, new audio system so that we can space folks out and still do some face-to-face. And that was completed this week. But again,
looking at the numbers from the survey, we'll have some teachers who will be doing nothing but online instruction, and then other teachers doing face-to-face instruction and online?
Correct.
Thank you.
So one of the points that we'll make at this point, if you approve for us to move to Plan B, and you may going to talk about it, Shannon, later, that means that teachers will be in the building every day. That's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Williamson, they will be in the building every day. So they will be conducting instruction with the A students actually in the classroom, and then online with the B student later or something? How's that?
That's correct. Those folks who are teaching kids face to face, will be in those classrooms, 12, 13 students per class, and at the same time, for those parents who opt out and to the Hope Online, they will also be in their classroom conducting those classes too. But the important point is every teacher would be in the building every day. If it was Plan C, then that would be different. They would teach from home as we did in the spring.
Okay.
Face-to-face or online, but in the building every day.
How will they planning session look? Will they still be able to get their planning session, teachers?
So under Plan B, basically they will be following their same instructional schedule. So let's say we're all third grade teachers. We're all going to have our traditional instructional schedule because all of us under Plan B, if I'm not 100% remote, I'm a Plan B teacher, we're all teaching face-to-face Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So there'll be elective time. So kids will be able to go to electives, which is traditionally where and when those teachers are able to organize themselves and have their planning sessions. So that would still be in place. Now under Plan B, remember Friday is a remote learning day. So if I'm a Plan B teacher, I teach my A kids on Monday and Wednesday face-to-face. I teach my B kids Tuesday and Thursday face-to-face. So that puts me in front of kids 4 days a week. And then on Fridays, I teach remotely, all of my class. So that's the difference. And under this HCS Online, those teachers will be instructing 5 days a week online. So I hope that clarifies. So they will all have an instructional schedule that they have to follow that will have times built in where they can still have that collaboration.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Is it going to be mandatory that everybody wear all our staff wear a mask in the building at all times?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's why we ask you to formally approve our plan, because in the plan, we clearly state that masks are required pre-K 13 in terms of our students and for all our employees and parents who want to enter our buildings. There is some conversation that kids up to age 11 really don't have to wear a mask, but we're saying no, everyone will wear a mask, and that's what you approved this morning. That's in our plan.
Good.
Right now, remote learning instruction will take place at school, not at the teacher's home. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct on the Plan B. That is correct. Teachers will be in the buildings 5 days a week.
Dr.
And
Williamson?
for kids 4 days, and then the online will still be in the building. And everybody online Friday.
Dr. Williamson, is this when you would like me to address the school calendar issue?
We have that on information, but just go ahead. It works.
Yeah, okay. So there's been a lot of talk over the last week or two about the new legislation that was passed and its impact on districts' ability to open remotely. This is Senate Bill 49, Session Law 49, excuse me. So the first thing they said was, well, each local board is required to develop a remote instructional plan. We all know that, right? So that was the first thing they said. Then they said, as part of next year, all local boards are required to adopt a calendar that is 185 days long. So there's 5 extra days of instruction, and that 5 of those remote learning days have to be remote. And then they had a third provision that said no remote instruction. Oh, and that it had to begin on the 17th of August. And then the third option was that there could be no remote instructional days, or the language is no remote instruction day shall be scheduled prior to August 24th, which led many people to be concerned that may require boards to bring their students in for live instruction during that week from August 17th through the 22nd. And then there was a fourth provision that said if the local board determines that additional remote instruction beyond just those 5 days is needed for health and safety of students, parents, or staff, then you can add additional days that are also remote. So we've gone back and forth. Our firm has gone back and forth with many different people. We, from the very beginning, said, no, what they're saying is you can't schedule those 5 instructional days to take place that first week. But So there was a fair amount of, I think we're getting a lot of feedback. Okay, great. Thank you, Sean. What we had been advising people, which was not consistent with everyone as advice in different categories, was that what the legislature was saying is you have these 5 remote days that you can schedule throughout the year. What you can't do is schedule those 5 days to occur from August 17th, that first week of school. But there's no prohibition in the statute from allowing you to have more instructional days. And this actually was a really complicated issue. And we just recently got a letter from the governor's office, from special counsel for the governor, which articulated exactly that you're not restricted from that. However, the one thing I would say is that if the board is wanting to adopt Plan B or Plan C, which includes some level of remote instruction, and that you want that to start on the 17th of August, before you do that, I think the board needs to have a separate motion that says that that plan is needed for the health and safety of students. Super easy, just part of what you're going to consider. And I'm happy to take any questions about that.
Oh.
To approve that we use remote learning from day one. So we'll bring that up in August and share that information with you today. That'll give us an opportunity to really fine tune our Plan B. But that will be on the agenda for August.
Well, here's Dr. Dallas?
So the registration forms,
I'm sorry, she's unmuted
I'm
now.
sorry, I was muted and I could not unmute myself because I was not.
That sounds like me.
I was trying. So one of the things that we did want to make sure that you were able to see, because we are sure you will be getting some questions, that if approved and we release this registration form, we want you just to have a sense of what it will look like. It is a Google form. And on the first page of the Google form, it basically kind of outlines what this is. It is an opt-in to 100% remote learning. We talk about that you will follow a schedule, there'll be attendance and things like that. Then on the next part of the form are a list of considerations, and we're going to ask parents to actually read through those considerations and pretty much click to say, I have read and agreed to the considerations above. And when they hit next, it will then take them to the next slide. And so at that point, once they agree to the considerations, it's going to ask them a series of questions about their student information, which this form will then be populated for our principals so that they will be able to see who is opting into the 100% remote, so that they can begin working on their schedules and building these 100% remote learning class rosters. So we just wanted to make sure that you saw that. It will be on the district website. It will be on the school website. And just a reminder that those will be due by 6 p.m. on Monday, July 27th.
And then here, if you would click on the link, this is just some guidance or some outline steps for major topics for our schools to consider while they're in the planning process. So this is just a document that will continuously be updated. We just wanted to generate some discussion in terms of the planning process for schools. So then we looked at the health and safety measures, just going through different bullets, that things that they need to consider as they are planning for the re-entry of our schools. The second topic was scheduling, and that was more in detail to talk about for them to go ahead and create their master schedule and then to move forward with their AD schedule, and then how should that look and what steps that they need to consider in the scheduling process. Scroll down. And then, of course, we gave principals some special notes for all schools, and these are just special notes for them to consider when we're looking at the HCS online learning. And then the child nutrition, and then transportation. So we will continuously update these with update these with steps for principals to consider in terms of these major topics for reentry.
Great. Any more questions? Thank you for all your questions and a good discussion around survey and results and what our intent is. We're going to meet with principals this afternoon and share this information out with them. Any questions? If not, then Madam Chairman and members, based on our survey results, I am asking you to approve that Polk County Schools reentry plan would be Plan B, subject to change based on the governor's recommendation. We will default to Plan C if that's his recommendation. But at this point, I'm asking you to approve that we move forward with Plan B as we discussed with you this morning, please.
You've heard the recommendation from our superintendent to approve the reentry Plan B for this coming up the school year. May we get a motion on that, please, at this time?
Madam Chair, this is Rosa McAllis McCray. I move that we approve the Polk County School Reentry Program Plan B, subject to change if the governor has anything to say about it.
I'll second that. Hank Richards.
Okay, we've heard the motion by Ms. Rosa McAllis McCray and second by Mr. Richards that we approve the recommendation from our superintendent for Polk County Schools Reentry Plan B based upon approval from the governor. Are there any questions? All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Hank, aye.
Rosa, aye.
Barbara, aye.
Pickett, aye.
Della, aye.
Okay, poses nay, ayes have it. So the plan that was recommended by our superintendent, reentry Plan B for the Polk County Schools, have been adopted and approved. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members, and thank you for your questions and spending time on this particular issue. Just a good, strong discussion this morning with that. Action item number 3 is our federal program budget. Let me ask Ms. Erica Fortenberry, our Executive Director of Federal Program and School Improvement, and she'll share those budgets with you, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Superintendent, Madam Chair, and board members, I hope each of you are well.
Yes, thank you.
I am, thank you.
This morning, I would like to present and seek approval of our federal budget. The grant application for our federal budgets, Title I, Part A and C, Title II, Title III, and Title IV are due to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction on July 31st, 2020. And so I would like to go through those budgets with you. Title I, Part C, it's our migrant students only. Our fiscal year allotment for Title I, Part C is $168,202. That is a significant increase from last year by $46,002. The increase, because how the formula is mandated for migrant students, is because it's over a span of 2 years compared to our other formulas, it's only a 1 year span. So that's why you see that increase. We went from 118 migrant students to 168 migrant students. So that's why you see that increase there for our migrant students. We use those fundings to pay for 2 full-time 10-month migrant tutors, as well as a migrant recruiter position. It is a requirement to have a recruiter position if you receive Part C funding. We also use those funds to pay for professional development opportunities for our migrant staff, and for any other staff that need training on migrant, as well as we offer a 2-week migrant summer enrichment academy for all migrant students. And we also offer an additional 2-week summer extended learning program, and that is to assist our at-risk or migrant program, call it, our priority for service students as well. And we also use that for our family events night, our parent engagement activities to support our migrant families. This year, we also use our migrant funds to pay for any students that are migrant to pay for Wi-Fi or devices needed in the home. For Title II, this here is for all staff within the district is used. This is our professional development. It used to be called our improvement teaching quality. So now it's our supportive effective instruction. You will see there that we receive a significant increase as well. The budget this year is $404,978. The increase went up $69,618. And with those funds, we pay for teacher salaries, tuition reimbursement, new teacher orientations, and supplies and materials. Title III is for our English learners, and which we call our language acquisition. This is for supplemental services only for our English learners. It was not a significant increase, but it was an increase. We went from 68,792 to 63,809. The increase is about 49.83 for this year. With those funds, we pay for a part-time parent liaison position, and that position that we have at the transition center, and 2 ESL tutors. With these funds, we cannot pay for a full-time position for out of Title III because it is used for supplemental services to support what we use in our 54 funds and 24 for our ESL, because ESL program is funded by the state. We also use those funds as well for professional development opportunities for our EL staff, as well as any regular ed teacher. Also, we conduct an ESL Saturday Academy that we begin in October, and it's go through April, and it's held the first and third Saturday of each month. And we conduct our parent events, which we're required to have one a semester for our EL families. And we also have to have a mandatory annual EL night for our EL families as well. We get an additional to that due to the fact that we have immigrant students, which is a language acquisition, which they call a significant increase. And that budget, it did go down a little. It did go down of $303. Last year we received $2,126, and this year's $2,429. Title IV. Title IV support all students. You do not have to be a Title I school to receive assistance for under Title IV. It supports the entire district. We consider our student support and academic enrichment grant. Last year we received $208,359, and this year's $208,377. Had an increase of $18 with that grant. And we support 3 areas with this grant: our well-rounded education, safe and healthy students, and effective use of technology integration. Our overall big grant is our Title I Part A basic programs. That's to support the disadvantaged student. Last year we had $2,757,162. This year's $2,796,891. We had an increase of $39,729. With that, we have what we call set-asides with this grant that we use funding for. That is for the administrative costs, which is 12%. We also support our foster care and homeless education program. We also use it to support our pre-K program, professional development as well for our teachers, and also our parent and family engagement activities that we give additional money to our schools for parent and family engagement, that it does not affect their budget that they receive, which we have our set aside. With Title I, that information is always pulled for our district, or any LEAs usually pulled in April, and we pull ours on April 29, 2020. And with that, we have to do what is called under the law, rank and serve for our free and reduced application percentages. That's how that's determined as far as funding and how schools' budget is allotted to them. So if we go down here, you can see the school allocation. I will start with Hawkeye. Hawkeye, as of April 29, 2020, they had 426 low-income students. So their free and reduced is about 98.84%. So they have an increase this year of $54,437.46. Then you go to McLaughlin. McLaughlin have 251 students. Their free and reduced percentage is 89.96%. They had an increase of $9,604.77. West Oak Elementary School, 400 students, 81.30%, an increase as well as $6,464.64. Then West Oak Middle School, 435 students, 73.23%. She had a decrease of $12,531.47. The reason her decrease is due to the fact of her low income population decrease. Upchurch, 579 students. Her percentage is 79.86%, an increase of $1,835.05. Gerlach, 488 students of low income students, 70.83%. She went down as well to $13,161.68. That's due to the free and reduced. Sandy Grove Elementary School, 482 students. She had an increase. Her free and reduced is 79.93%, and the increase is $57,000.54. Sandy Grove Middle, 389, an increase, 52.85%. He had an increase in his budget of $23,221.59. East Hope Middle School, 461. Their free and reduced population is 63.06%, an increase of $30,203.39. And Don Steed, 334 students. The free and reduced is 51.94%, an increase of $33,258.62. You do not see Rockfish Elementary School on here because Rockfish no longer qualifies to be a Title I school because they're free and reduced. When it was pulled on April the 29th, they were at 23%, and they do not qualify. In order to qualify, you have to be at 40% of your free and reduced population, or you can be at 35 to 40% to be a targeted assistance school, and that we target a particular area. So at this time, I am seeking your approval of our federal budget.
Erica, before we ask that, so again, Rockfish no longer qualifies. How much money did they receive last year off the top of your head?
$143,000.
So how are we making up that difference that they didn't qualify, that they still have those funds?
We're maintaining them at the $143,000 with the anticipation of the items that they spent it on last year, they would be spending it on this year. Last year with the $143,000, he had 2 teaching positions and all the benefits, and then about $33,000 in other line items. I talked with Mr. O'Connor this morning, so we're going to maintain the 2 positions, and he'll have about $33,000 to spend in tutoring and supplies.
Okay. And then Hoke High School has never qualified for Title I. How do we supplement and support them?
We always give them supply money to purchase supplies with.
Okay. And additional teaching positions.
Correct.
Right. And then Turlington, we do the same.
We do the same with them. That's correct.
Great. So we really serve all of our schools either out of the federal money or out of low-wealth state money.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so Madam Chairman and members, I'm requesting approval of our federal budgets as were shared by Ms. Fortenberry, please.
Excuse me, you've heard the recommendation from my superintendent for approval of our federal budget as presented by Ms. Thornburg. Maybe get a motion on that.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion we approve the federal budget that was presented before us.
Second, this is Rosa.
It's been motion by Mr. Richards and second by Ms. Rosa McCaskill-McCray that we approve the federal budget that was presented before us. Are there any questions? All in favor then, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye. Hank.
Aye.
Aye, Della.
Aye,
Those
Barbara.
opposed? Okay. Irish, aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. So the federal budget has been approved.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. That concludes our action items for this morning.
Okay, we will continue then with our agenda. Next on our agenda is administration. So at this time, Dr. Weeson.
Great. Thank you. I do want to share information items with you. Information item A is the advisory letter that Smirkerson made mention to. And again, it is our intent to bring that issue to you in August and ask your approval to begin remote learning on August the 17th. The reason for that is this is just an advisory letter at this point. It is not an official opinion from the Attorney General, so we want to wait and see what reaction will happen as a result of this letter. Ms. Murkison, help me. Is that correct, please?
Yes, that's correct. I don't know if there'll be any additional action by the Attorney General or not, but there certainly may be. And if there's not, then we can discuss next steps at the next meeting.
Great, thank you. Information item number B is our career and technical education credentials. Let me ask Dr. Chavis if you'll share that information with us, please.
Yes, sir. So just to kind of give a little background, in 2016, North Carolina started with a initiative closing the educational gap for North Carolina, and they have an ambitious goal that by 2030, that 2 million of our North Carolinians will have either a post-secondary degree or a credential. So what I wanted to share with the board is how Hope County Schools is making an impact on North Carolina's goal for the North Carolinians, the residents here. So the first document that I wanted to share was the credentials by the Infinity Group. So in 2010 and 2011, the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction began to track credentials for the students that were enrolled in the CTE classes. So when they started, they only had about 24,000 students that actually had earned credentials. But last year, well, the year 18-19 school year, there were 276,000 plus individuals that had earned a credential. So for Hope County, though, you'll see that in 17-18, we were at 68%, and the next year we increased to 97%, which is like 29% increase. So what that means for Hope County and for North Carolina is that the students that are actually enrolling in our classes are actually earning those credentials. So not only are they excited about the classes, but they are excited about the potential of those credentials that they can earn while they're there. So when you see on here the Affinity Group 4, what that just means is that these counties are very similar in their size. So lots of times folks will say, well, Hope County's doing this, but Cumberland County's doing that. But they're not even the same. They're not even the same in their size. What I will like to say is that this kind of gives you a snapshot of the affinity groups that are similar to Hope County and how we compare to them. Any questions about this? I will also like to add is that, you know, the credentials that the state tracks for our students, some of the information is missing when it comes to our CCP classes like our firefighting class and our plumbing, cosmetology, those numbers are not included in here. We don't register those numbers. Okay. The next document.
You got some great classes.
Thank you, ma'am. The next document is the second one, credentialing data. Just to kind of show you the 3-year trend. So in 16-17, which that was actually on that Infinity, that was not on the Infinity group, but this shows you how things have progressed. So even with the credentials being earned, we took a dip in 17-18, but it went back up in 18-19. The actual report that is sent out by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, it comes out once a year, and it's typically in September. So we don't have the information for the 19-20 school year because it's not available yet. Moving down on this list, you'll see that the work key scores on how those have increased over the past 3 years, along with the gold and the silver. And those students that actually school for the bronze are not recognized by the state. But Hope County is doing very, very well. The last document that I would like to share is just some more spotlights for Hope County. If you'll scroll down, we've already spoken about the drone class where we had 25 students that actually enrolled in that class, and 5 of them have already earned their pilot license even during the pandemic. But the barbering class also had success where all the seniors were able to complete their hours and are available to go take their state exam. Moving down the list for our public safety classes and doing all this online, so it's quite unique. The public safety classes, which is taught by Mr. Bethay, he worked with his students for that. 40 of them actually earned their CER training. So they are certified in that particular area. Ms. Wright worked with her students in the cosmetology class. Those students are preparing now to go take their state exam, but because of the online process that they put in place, those students are actually able to earn their license. The automotive class, which we had a new teacher this year, Mr. Holmes, he worked with his students to earn 47 different certifications during this pandemic. Our animal science and our horticulture classes, which is Ms. Cummings and Ms. Arrington, they work with a particular online platform called ICEV, and those students had a huge success, lots of videos that they were able to work with. They actually had a student that was accepted into the livestock science camp, which actually had a full scholarship. And then they participated in a competition that was virtually, and which was kind of still going on during the whole summer. And then career management class actually earned some credentials using Conover. And if you'll scroll down a little, we tried a boot camp this summer in which we opened it up for 2 weeks to allow students that were taking those CCP classes to earn their credentials. And we had 13 students to show up and earn 53 different credentials in firefighting, 4 students in HVAC and plumbing, and 2 students in electrical. So, you know, that was a big success in itself, especially during all of this remote learning. So we appreciate Dr. Baldwin and Dr. Williamson who allowed this particular boot camp to go on for 2 weeks. Any questions?
Very good, very good.
Great, thank you, and thank you for your leadership. Just outstanding opportunities for our students that they have real choices. Next on the information is our year in sports. We look forward to this every year, and let me ask Mr. Bridges, to share that information.
Yes, Dr. Chavis, I really appreciate the public safety class. I'm not sure if you knew about this, but we used the public safety class in basketball this year to help us scan, run the metal detectors, and we had students, and they did a really good job with this, and I think that's maybe part of the credits they got. I think they did a really, really good job with that. Some of the highlights this year in athletics, we were real tickled, and I really didn't know how this presentation going to go because we lost 1/3 of the year. And I said, well, there shouldn't be very many slides, but my goodness, we had a really good year and a lot of good stuff that occurred with our athletic program. Some of the things you're going to see, just note that the soccer team won the SAC-8 championship, and our football team finished 4th and qualified for the state playoffs. Our swim team qualified 5 relay teams, and our girls team finished 3rd. Which was, I think, is really an achievement. Our bowling finished 2nd in SAC-8, but 4th in the state. We had Sam Locklear, which I think is going to be a wonderful bowler, individual that finished 2nd in SAC-8, and also was 3rd in the state. 2 middle school teams, West Hope Middle School and Sandy Grove Middle School, both won the SEC Middle School Championships, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the COVID and how it affects us in the spring. I put a picture of our football team up there, and I think that's what really kicked everything off. We were kind of skeptical about the season coming in, got off to a really good start, and the best start that, I don't know if it's school history or what, but we went 5-1 right out of the gate. And a lot of excitement was generated in our community. We were excited about the matchup between Hope County and Lee County. I don't know if you can reflect back to that. Both teams were 3-0. We were playing them at Raz Archery Stadium, and WRAL came in and live streamed it, and that was the first part of the excitement that's yet to come. Lee County was in the state championship game. We went to the 2nd round of state playoffs, and so therefore that was a really good high school matchup in the state. Last year we and when I say we, the football coaches and Coach Small put together a plan, improvement plan. We call it Trust the Process. One of the goals that we had in there was teaching winning the right way. And, you know, that goes a long way. And I say teaching winning the right way is playing the game the right way. And I'm going to speak about football in particular, but I get a lot of reports from the officials and how well they enjoy coming to officiate our ball game at Hope County, how they enjoy being around Coach Small and the professionalism that he carries into the game, and how our kids play the game, and not a lot of profanity and doing things the right way on the football field. And that's an attribute to our kids. One of the other things that we were looking at is more participation from our middle school programs. I got that in green, which we do have more participation. We are educating our middle school coaches. We brought them in and did a lot of in-service workshops with them. And what generated in our football program was our community involvement. And that was one of our goals last year, is to get our community involved. I left in red some of the things that we have to work on. I think getting our student athletes involved in physical conditioning, and from the middle school to transition from what they're doing in the middle school to what we're trying to do in the high school setting. That's always a process and always a trial and error. Increase parks and recreation numbers and increase numbers of teams. We still got to do a lot of work there. And by far, we don't use Parks and Rec as a feeder system, but I feel like that the Parks and Rec will either turn on or turn off a kid. And right now, we don't need turnoffs, because our parents nowadays, as far as in football, they're choosing not to put their children in football because of a number of reasons. The possibility of head injuries, that's a big topic in today's football society, and so now they're choosing to do other things with their child as far as recreation. And also education of our Parks and Rec coaches and the volunteers that they have there. We attempted this, weren't very good at it, because it seems like it's a year-to-year process as who's going to coach. Normally, they walk up to a parent that kind of look like they play football, and they say, "Hey, you want to be a coach?" And he says yes, and so that's all solved. But if we get some consistency there, I think that will probably help us and let them know what we are trying to do at the high school. You're talking about community involvement. Take a look at this. This is the tailgate that went on at the stadium this year. We had a great game. Hope County won 21-14 over 71st. That put us 2-0 in the conference. The community support, you can't ask for more, no more than what we have out there. I mean, we have a lot of community support when it comes to our classes and our reunions that we have. We have ADs and coaches all over that come through here. What in the world are we doing? How do we generate this? They try to do the same thing we do, but they can't do it. I said, whenever I retire, I'll give you the secret. And there's no secret. It's that the only secret is that we got good people that want to follow and want to be part of what we're trying to do. Still talking about the community involvement. Coach Small did a really good job this year as far as getting the community involved, and certain individuals that had them as honorary captains. If you see the gentleman on the right, it's Joe Poole, and the gentleman in the center was a quarterback during the 70s. We try to bring back folks that have contributed to the program in the past, and I'll tell you a little bit about Joe Poole a little bit later on and what he did. The parent buy-in is still important. Every year we have a potluck dinner with our parents. We bring in the football players, we talk to them about rules, and we talk about the excitement of getting the season started. So that takes us into our championship team. We got our soccer team went 21-5. Best record we've ever had in the school. Mr. Richards, you probably remember when we started soccer, we had a co-ed soccer team that couldn't win nothing. And now we got a men's soccer team that went 21-5, and they were conference champions, first conference championship we received at our school in this program. And during halftime of the basketball game, we presented the banner that went up in the McDonald gym, and then we gave the players their T-shirts stating that they were conference champions. A lot of work went into this. I had a question yesterday. How many people graduated off of this team? Well, Coach McDavid graduated quite a few folks. Not sure, but in the summertime, last summer and the summers before, he put in a lot of work with these boys, and it paid the dividends. Not so sure how it's going to work out this year. We got to have a young team, but we did have a really, really good JV team. We're still looking for good things out of our soccer program. There's going to be more people wanting to get involved because of the success that we had this year. So big games. Soccer was involved in some really, really big events. And what's so good about this is events that occurred at our stadium. And normally we're on the road. If you look at the one on the left, we hosted the SAC 8 Boys Soccer Championships at Raz Archery, and what a crowd we had. We played it on Saturday night because we had a rain that occurred the date that we had it, and we had a huge crowd. I mean, it was fantastic, a lot of excitement. And then we were hosted the first round of the state playoffs with East Met. They came in on a charter bus, and what a great match we had there. So we're involved in big games. But the key thing about these big games, we used to go on the road and play these big games. Now we're hosting them, and so that's really good. Yes, sir. The West Hope Middle School boys team won the SEC championship. The key thing about that photo, if you look in the background, that's the final score, 60-30. I mean, they had a really, really good game, and they beat Richmond County when they came in. We were able to host it at our school at Hoke High. We host a lot of middle school games at the high school. Part of the freshman success program that we run in the summertime, I think this leads is just as big as far as getting our middle school students to our high school. Not only does the middle school students come to the high school, but they bring their parents, so they kind of see exactly what we're trying to do. And had a big crowd. Sandy Grove won the girls championship. So Miss Pickett, if you can remember the top teams we had this year, our girls team and our boys team not very good, but we got good players coming up. So hopefully
Great.
our basketball will rise again, and they very well should be in Hope County.
Oh, yes, great.
Track program, just take a look at that, how many female track people we had at this meet. And it was something else. I threw that slide in there to let you know that not only basketball and football and all that is big in our middle schools. Years and years ago, I sat in here and convinced y'all that the track program in the middle schools would be good, and that's very evident of what you see right there. So we're doing a very good job in recruiting girls, and the boys is just the same. We missed out on the boys track meet this year because of the pandemic. That's a heck of a photo right there. He was third in the state. That's Sam Locklear. If you take a look at that and compare him to some of the professional bowlers, man, oh man, he can sling it down there. He's bowled a couple of 300 games. I'm waiting for him to do one in competition, and his name's gonna probably pop out all over the state. Bowling is alive. Take a look at this.
I like to bowl.
I hear you too. But if you look at that, that's our conference championship right there. Look at all the people that's at this facility watching our high schoolers bowl. It's excitement in our league. Something that was started years ago. We were real skeptical about it, and we didn't have buy-in with our whole conference. I had to convince 3 or 4 schools that, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to get involved in bowling. It gives a child an opportunity that probably couldn't make the basketball team or the wrestling team, and we get those type of children on our bowling team, and they do very, very well. Our swim program this year is taken off. We've got lots of visions in our swim program. We had right at 30 members on the team. The boys finished 5th, girls finished 3rd, and that is a big accomplishment and a big jump. We have 5 relay teams to make the regional times, 2 boys teams and 3 girls teams. I think the key thing that looking at the bullet here, we had 16 swimmers to make all conference, and that shows the improvement in the last from year 1 to year 3. But I think the big thing is putting kids to work, high schools at work or whatever. We got 15 members that have jobs on Fort Bragg this summer. Lee Artis has done a really good job training. She trained 5 more this summer, and then the others that was left over, they're working. And we still have some graduates that are in college that was on our swim team that goes back and helps run the pool facilities at Fort Bragg.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, that is. And this is a photo that I took. I was fortunate that I drove the team to Greensboro the night of the Hall of Fame banquet. I was one tired puppy, but we had a really good group of kids that we took to Greensboro. They're well behaved. They're excited. The facility there was fantastic. They got to swim against some really good swimmers. By far, we are not at the caliber of the Wake County swimmers. And I was talking to one of the coaches that their swim team gets up at 4:30 in the morning, go do their workout, and then shower and make school. And we're not there, but we can be there. I mean, it's not saying
we will get there.
Yeah, it's not saying that we can't get there, but we will. This next slide kind of shows you what is going to happen. This is a vision of vision of our superintendent. Our county commissioners have bought into it. I took a couple photos of the blueprint. The outside's gonna look, what the outside's gonna look on the left, what the inside's gonna look on the right. They're gonna have a basketball court. They're gonna have an 8-lane pool, seating up to 200 right now. Mr. Evers and I went to a meeting, and we convinced them that we need to have 300 to be able to host meets. Some of the things I shared with them was that the possibilities of hosting the facility, hosting the meets from Fayetteville also. I convinced them that it's a money-making thing that is going to occur. But we're excited about this happening, and go back to what we said about, our swimmers are having an opportunity to swim in Hope County is going to be a reality. I think one of the things that Dr. Williams and I talked about 3 or 4 years ago, he would love to see every 4th grader in Hope County learn how to swim. And I think this is a really good start with our commissioners putting this in place. Our wrestling program did very well this year. We actually finished 3rd in the SAC-8 in the tournament. We had one wrestler, Josh Savage, made it to the state championships. He wrestled. He ended up finishing 3rd in the SAC-8, and I'm not sure if he placed in the state, but he did a really good job there. The photo on the right is our girl wrestler, and there's not a guy in the conference that want to mess with her. She's whooped some butts all over the place. She finished 2nd in the state in the individual tournament that we had in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. She's a really tough cookie. The couple of Josh Savage finished 4th in the state. Our girls wins the tournament. That's a girls team on the right. Our girls team is a new program that we're putting in. We don't have as many members in the conference where we can't offer it as a conference sport, but we're pushing towards that. I think we had a lot of girls participate in wrestling in the conference, so hopefully this year we'll be able to offer it as a conference sport. And that's Josh Savage winning at the High School Athletic Association. It's always good to see a kid with his hand raised that got hook across the front of his chest. So that leads us into our Hall of Fame. What a night we had. I appreciate the board coming to the Hall of Fame. These are our inductees, Durant Cooper, and we had the 2 girls from Coach Colson's relay team, Kathy Little and Miss Black, and Ricky Chavis from the 80s, and then Dexter Jones, a wrestler, Walter Mahalia, Portia Locklear, one of our teachers in the elementary schools and middle school. What a great resume, but we tore it around. Should we put a team in? Yes. You know why we should put a team in? Because this is our Hall of Fame and we can do it. And we put this here. We put this 90 baseball team in. It's been kicked around about 2 or 3 years. So we said, all right, let's do it. And what a wonderful evening these baseball players had whenever they were introduced as part of the Hall of Fame. And this is the picture of the individuals that went in the Hall of Fame. We always bring them in at halftime of the basketball games and introduce them to the fans that we have. And this is next one is a photo of the baseball team that we had. The baseball members, they came from all over the state. We had one to come from out of state. They were so happy to get together. That's 30 years ago that they won the state championship. And this is kind of like a reunion for them. You should have heard them. They were all together. Unfortunately, we have 2 that's been deceased, but they were represented by family members. But this was a great night for Hope County baseball being inducted into our Hall of Fame. And then we put up on our press box that we built a couple of years ago, we made sure that every time somebody went to a baseball game, they know that the 90 team is in the Hall of Fame. And we also have a list of the players that coaches listed up there. So we had a great year. A year before, we had about 3 folks that made the 910 preps. this year, having a good football season. We had folks had a good group for 910, Prep All-Stars, Keontae Shaw, Josh Harrison. What a great picture, the football player with the American flag coming on the field. That just gives me chill bumps every time I look at that. Marquise Woodson, great player for Hope County. And then Leah, I was telling you about her and her wrestling. And then can't forget about our two soccer players, Xavier Hernandez, Pedro, and then Josh again. These all was our 910 preps. Talk a little bit about Xavier Hernandez. Xavier Hernandez was very challenged as a student. And I promise you that if it wasn't for athletics and it wasn't for soccer and it wasn't for our coach, Xavier Hernandez would have been a dropout. And we had to stay on him, keep him involved in school, let him know the importance of going to class and doing what he's supposed to do. Xavier now is going into the U.S. Army, and I guarantee you, I'd be a fool not to bet that he would have been a dropout if we had pushed him to the side and not got him involved in athletics. I still say athletics is the best dropout prevention tool that we have in our school system. Our Psych 8 awards, we have several. Colin McDavid, again, this is the second year, Coach of the Year in soccer. Xavier was Player of the Year, and then Coach Small was Coach of the Year. And these are photos of all of them. I looked at Colin's mantle. He has, this is his second plaque, and he does a really good job. And this is Xavier of some of his awards that he won this year. And then obviously Coach Small winning the Psych 8 Coach of the Year in football. And I can't remember, as an athletic director, I'm not so sure if we had a football coach as Coach of the Year. And that goes to show you that our football coaches in the conference respected what we did on the football field this year and the improvement that we made in our football program. Athletes of the Year, we had, obviously, we award two athletes that were involved in sports this year. We named them the female, Kim Ray, Female Athlete of the Year, Jaylene Cardona. Jaylene was a soccer player. Obviously, it's a great picture of her. She's very, very good. She was a bowler, and also she was involved in the athletic training program. And if I asked Mr. Bridges if he wanted to step away for a minute, she can run the program. She was a very good athletic trainer. And I wish she had decided to go into that, but she chose to go into the U.S. Army, which I'm just as proud for her to do that too. She's going to be very successful at whatever she does because she learned the respect in the game that's going to carry her a long way. And then our Male Athlete of the Year, which is the Mike Ray female male athlete, Marquise Woodson. Marquise had a great football season. He was a defensive back. He also ran indoor track, and he would have had a great year in outdoor track, but he was slated to make the states and his jumping abilities. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to see that. So, our class of 2020 college signees, we have several in soccer. You can see right there, which is getting bigger and bigger each year. We have one in volleyball, softball, and then softball program continues to grow and get better. Football, we had 3 signees, and also in baseball. Now, baseball was a really funny thing because we didn't play baseball this year, but we still have 3 signees on their ability to what they did as a junior. And right now they're playing in what we call a college league. Still, I don't know if anybody kept up with that or see that in the newspaper, but we have several, our 3 baseball players right there are playing in that. And then Lynn Miller, I understand, made the all-star team for the college baseball league that they have every year. So I know it's kind of hard for you to see this. It's kind of hard for me to see this, but the athletic department is going into what we call final forms. We're putting all our forms online, and we feel like that it's going to hold a lot of folks accountable. The transferring of forms from the parents to the coaches, to the athletic trainer, to the athletic director. Now they're gonna be able to do it all online. All they have to do is, sign up, and when they sign up, if a child signs up, for that team, they go right to that team, and then this portal will pop up, and make sure that they have all the certain forms signed, like the concussion form, the sportsmanship form, all the forms that they normally have to spend time and they go through and read it. The physical form will be uploaded to this portal. They take a picture of the physical form, upload it, and then it'll be there. Parents will keep the physical form. We have it online, and so I think it's going to be really great. But it's moving us into a next level. I think that the part I like the most is that it's going to hold our coaches accountable. We're constantly trying to keep them involved. I'll be able to put in their concussion part. I'll be able to put in their job description. I'll be able to put in the ethics of coaching and the sportsmanship things that they have to make sure that they are involved in as a coach. So if something happens, I can go to and say, this is where you clicked the green, that you read this, and so we can hold them, like I said, accountable. Our athletic program, our sports medicine program continues to grow. Derek Bridges, Derek Bridges, our head athletic trainer. He's going to talk to you a little bit about the reentry plan for sports. But these are our athletic trainers that we had in the system this year. The two girls in the black are interns from Pembroke State. We have a underground, I say an underground, but we have a great relationship with Pembroke State and their athletic training program. They're constantly sending us interns, which is nothing but a plus for us as far as our athletic training. It used to be a dead source with us. It's not anymore. It's growing, and it's grown, and it's better. So, Adidas, the school system has gone to an Adidas. We're branded as an Adidas contract. I'll put this uniform up there. This is an Adidas uniform. It's got Hope written on it. This is not a uniform that we purchased, but it was a mock-up. But this is kind of leads into what we're going to be doing. All of our kids are going to be wearing Adidas wear. Our coaches, all our teachers are going to be involved in anything that we wear this year is going to have Adidas. And yes, we earn what we call promo bucks. A lot of things we can get our student athletes for free, and that's a really good thing. We'll be able to give some of our kids things that they see other teams have that they don't have. So hopefully this is going to grow and get really, really big for us. So the Wells Fargo is how we gauge ourselves with the conference. This year we finished sixth. We scored 51 points, but if you go through and look across, you're going to see several schools like Lumberton was 58. We were right at them, and then over at Scotland, they were right at 61. So we're about 10 points away from being in fourth place, and I think that's an improvement that we can have. If you look at men's basketball and women's basketball, we had a bad year or down year. We normally don't have those down years or bad years in basketball. I can see that going up, and I can see us scoring higher than that, and then our place would change. So the sportsmanship award, we came in third. This is how the conference thinks about how we treat them. We try to treat our opponents very, very professional. We bring them in, make sure that our athletic trainers are hooked up, that they got exactly what they need to be hydrated on the sideline. We leave coolers there full of water. So this is kind of the way that that's the way we treat the opponents when they come in. And so the scores show that, we came in third there. So this is something that Mr. Richards likes seeing. Again, our scholar athletes were very high. This is not including the spring, obviously, but we did give out 66 cords off of the seniors this year, which I thought was pretty good, great. In 2011 we had 79, 2019, 20. We have 122 and 181 in 2018. This goes to show you that our student athletes are taking the college classes. They're taking the college prep classes. They're getting the quality points that they need. They're challenging themselves in the classroom. This is evidence right here. And not just taking just the small classes just to get by. We have great student athletes in our program. So in a couple years, last year, the Board of Education and also the commissioners went in and we updated and improved our concession stands. We had a new facelift in the McDonald's gym. We've had new stands at the stadium. Health department came in and certified all of them. That's great. So I decided to do an analysis of how much money we brought in on that from 2018, 2019. We brought in a gross, now not net, but gross, with $15,000.
Call in. You got your phone?
2019, 20, which is this year, with the new concession stands, brought in 21,000. So just having the new stands helped a lot. We were able to serve more people. They felt comfortable going to a new stand. They felt comfortable in buying things. It's a big improvement. I wanted to share that with you and say thank you again for your support in getting the concession stands built at the stadium and in the gym. So I came across this quote. I love quotes. One athlete of character will improve a team. And one team of character will improve a school. One school of character can impact the entire community. And I think that's what happened with our sports teams this year, especially in baseball, soccer and football. We saw a lot of community support, a lot of community people wanting to get involved in what we're trying to do. They're coming to ball games when they didn't used to come to ball games. And that's because of the character that we showed on the field and off the field. So these are some improvements, I think, from the commissioners and from the community. We developed what we call the red zone. It's a patio. I know some of you commissioners have seen it. The patio on the back side of the field house. On the right, we had a pig picking for the football team at the end of the season. Very good place. We got lots of great ideas how we're going to use this. We can see a lot of class reunions occurring here. Nothing but good stuff. And then all of a sudden we had a big donation. Lord of mercy. I don't think I've ever been involved in a donation of $100,000. And it's going to go to our Jumbotron, which is you see on the right. I have a lot of visions for this Jumbotron, and I do know that the county commissioners came in and offset the rest of it. I have a lot of visions for this. I can see having middle school nights out there, having a movie. I can see us putting up student athletes. One student athlete could say, "Hey, I'm Marquise Wilson. I went to West Hope Middle School, and this is what the sports I play at Hope County High School." Kind of give them a bio. And then I can see the elementary schools possibly having an elementary school night out there. Movie, kids can go out there and watch. I mean, it's like a drive-in theater. We can put a movie up there. It can be really good things that our middle school and our elementary school can get involved in. Lots of ideas with this video screen. Really excited. Slated to be erected in at the end of July, 1st of August. We're excited about getting it. Practice football field. I know none of you don't know anything much about this. On the photo on the left is the grading part. We put this practice football field in. It's one of the visions that Coach Small had as far as making our practice facilities better. The picture on the left is the grading part of it that we did. And then the photo on the right, if you remember me talking about Joe Poole, he came in and donated all the grass that you see there. The grass is a type of Bermuda, but it looks good. We're still working on it. It's a work in process, but we're excited about the new practice football field, and we still got things that we want to add to it. I know our kids going to be involved in that. And that leads to our one of the projects that's ongoing right now is the redoing of the McDonald gym. We've had some water issues in there. We're going to try to correct it. The McDonald gym was probably unsafe last year. It had humps in there. We kind of squeezed by. We hadn't have anybody complaining about it. But we knew that we needed to get it fixed. I appreciate Dr. Williams and the Board of Education pushing to get this redone. We're excited about getting the floor replaced and getting a quality surface to play on. New items that occurred this year, I got a scoreboard that was donated. Our baseball scoreboard was very much needed. It's up. We played one game on it, and so we're looking forward to using it next year. So then, now the pandemic happened. The photo at the top was the track meet that we had. Look at all the crowd having a good time. The very next day, it's empty. And so, it was a tough situation that the schools had to go through. I think the one thing that really touched me the most was I had a parent of a baseball player who came to me and says, I don't think my son really, I know he misses it, but I missed it more because I waited 12 years to see him play baseball, and especially waited 12 years to see him play his senior year. And so our parents suffered. Our parents of our athletes suffered tremendously because there's nothing more enjoyable than a parent going to watch their child play. So that was really tough. That it? Okay, that's it. Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
Just thank you so much. You've done an outstanding job. You really have.
Right.
We are blessed to have you as the director of our athletics.
I really enjoyed being involved with you and everything, and we're excited. We got Derek Bridges going to come in and give you an opportunity to talk about our re-entry plan if that occurs.
Well, Gary, we're going to change that. I'm going to pull the return to play and bring that back in August. One reason is hopefully after the governor's announcement today, and then Q Tucker, who is head of the High School Athletics Association, will roll out a plan, and so we'll modify our plan and then present it to you in August, if we're Lord willing. So I'm gonna pull D and bring it back. So that concludes administration information items for today.
Dr. Williamson.
Yes.
I was just telling him, thanks so much for giving all the students an opportunity to showcase their talent.
Yes.
Years ago they couldn't do so, but with everything now that's offered at the high school in the athletic department, all students have an opportunity. All students have an opportunity to showcase what their God-given talents, and this says a lot for our students. Thanks to you all for what you've done for them.
Well, you ought to be commended as a board. When other school systems was eliminating programs, you approved for us to add programs, and you see the results of that. And you're right, students have opportunities that otherwise they would not have had. So thank you.
Okay, so now we will continue with our agenda, and next on our agenda is the closed session. So, Mrs. Dr. Ramshore, what?
Yes, ma'am. I am preparing to send you to closed session at this time.
Madam Chair.
Dawn?
Yes, you should be joining.
Yeah, we need to do a motion in open session before they can go to closed. Yeah.
Okay, I will bring them all back.
So let me ask this question.
Oh, wait, you're back in open session.
We need the closed session. We need a motion for closed session. I
Yes.
think Mr. Richards gave the motion for closed session.
I'll do
Mr.
it
Richards, can
again,
you do
Madam
that?
Chairman.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion, we go into closed session.
For the purpose.
Second, Della.
Can we specify that that's for the purposes of personnel matters and meeting with the board attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I make a motion, we go into closed session for personnel purposes and meeting with the board attorney.
Thank you.
Okay, you heard the request of Mr. Richards. Can we get a second?
Second, Della.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Richard and Stella by Delamain that we go into closed session for the purposes stated. Are there any questions? If none, all in favor, nominate saying aye.
Hank, aye.
Aye, Della.
Aye, Barbara.
No. Then aye, Irish, and opposers say nay. Ayes have it. So we are now in closed session. And let's take about 3 or 4 minutes.
You're not in closed session yet. We're still in the open session. She's got to move you back over.
Needs to move us back into a breakout room.
Okay,
Irish.
okay, we are back now in open session, and I will give it to Dr. Wilson.
Great, thank you, Madam Chairman and members. I'm requesting approval of personnel action items 1, 2, and 3, as was shared with you by Dr. Thomas, please.
You've heard the request from the superintendent for approval of personnel action item 1 through 3 as shared by Dr. Thomas. Do we have any questions? All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
I'll make a motion, we approve action items 1, 2, and 3 in personnel.
This is Rosa, I second.
It's been moved and second that we approve action items 1 through 3 as requested by our superintendent. All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
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 Aye, Gala.
Aye.
Aye, Rosa.
Opposed?
Aye, Barbara.
Ayes have it. Okay, ayes have it. So, action items 1 through 3 have been approved. Dr. Williamson?
Great. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I do not have a report. I would just say thank you for your patience with the meeting this morning into this afternoon. Your conversation around Plan B, I do appreciate those questions, and we look forward to moving forward in the governor's announcement today. So thank you for a good meeting this morning, this afternoon.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Williamson. So may we get a motion now to adjourn our meeting, to adjourn today's meeting into our next meeting, August 11th.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second, Gala.
It's been moved and second that we adjourn our meeting to August the 11th. Are there any questions? All in favor, let it be known by the sign of aye.
Hank, aye.
Aye, Gala.
Aye, Barbara.
Good job, everybody.
Aye, Rosa.
Opposes nay. Ayes have it. So we are now adjourned until August the 11th.